Hi everyone. So I decided to do a quick little video here to show you guys how I go about making a coffee mug template. A lot of what I do is on the fly. So I'll be at my booth and someone will come up and say, oh my goodness, I want a coffee mug. And typically, while I have tons and tons and tons of frames in my repertoire and printed and catalogs and all kinds of options, I hardly ever end up actually going in here anymore and picking one of these, because when you're working with photograph templates, you end up having to make the frame fit the photograph a lot of the time. So I'll tell them to just send me the picture. And this is my beautiful granddaughter, Giovanna. And so the first thing I'm going to do in Photoshop is I'm going to hit the crop tool, which is right here, and then I'm going to drag it in to whatever size I want it to be. In this case, I don't care about scale because I'm going to fit my template to fit it. However, if you don't know, there is an option up here under ratio where you can choose a 5x7, 8x10, and then that will give you a box, and you can't, if you change one side, it changes the other. So it forces you to get a shape that will fit into, if you wanted an 8x10, for example. So I'm going to go back to just ratio because, oh, sorry, hold on. Okay. So that I can choose whatever I want. It's W times age times resolution, width, height, resolution. So I'm going to crop it up pretty tight. I don't need a whole lot. I'm going to leave a little bit of edge so that I don't end up cutting off any arms or anything important. Cropped it out. Now if we go back over here to the bridge, and I'm assuming if you're using Photoshop that you're using the bridge. If you're not, let me know and I can give a little tour on bridge. But I have my coffee mug template marked as a favorite right here. So I literally just click it and there's my blank template that's already sized and ready to go. And I'm going to copy, select all, copy, go back over to my template and Control V paste or edit paste. Zoom out. I'm using my scroll wheel to zoom out. Nope. What is happening here? Okay, my mouse is being weird. All right, so I have choices. I can leave this full, as big as possible. I tend to like a full bleed image or a image all the way around the picture, so I'm going to size it down just a little. And we want this to say Happy Father's Day. So I hit the text tool, I'm typing. Obviously my text is white at the moment, so if I go over here to my layer panel, I can bring this a little closer so you can see on my layer panel, then go to my character panel, and my text was white. So I'm going to click that, and for the moment I'm going to choose black. And since that's making it, let's say I'm making it for my son, so I'm going to use a little less girly of a font. Something nice, so that'll work. And I'm going to play with the font here in a minute. Now, I'm thinking I need to balance this out with another picture on the other side. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to snag this picture from her first day at kindergarten. And we're going to put that in there. Control V. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. I'm going to copy. You see, I get to going too fast and I forget to tell you what I'm doing. And I don't know what you know and what you don't know. So Control V, Control T gives me my shape changing box. Transform is what it is. so I can bring it in and make it the size that I want to fit. I'm a symmetrical person. I usually line it up with the other one so that I know it fits. It's symmetrical. Bring it over, bring it over. Go back to my layer panel, click on the other one, and just tweak it out so that they're lined up where I want them to be. Now, oops, I can add through styles. If I go back to my text layer, I can go over to, uh-oh, what happened? There we go. Okay, come on. Hold on here. Nice. Okay, I can go to my styles layer. And if these aren't open for you, come up to Windows, and all of these are different panels that you can have open with different things that they do. I have the ones I use the most lined up over here. Character, style. I don't usually have properties open. Layers, styles, and character. So I'm going to go to styles while I'm on the layer for Happy Father's Day. And I have all my preset styles in here that I can click on and change the look of the text. Now I kind of like that look, except that I feel like the yellow is a little too light, so maybe the blue. She's wearing the navy blue romper. I kind of like that. Now a lot of people would say, okay, cool, done. And we could be done. But I like to dress it up even more. So I'm going to go back to my layer panel and I'm going to select my background layer, which is over here, and it was set as background. I right clicked and chose create layer. So I'm on my background layer, which is the white, and I've got the same options. I can go over to my style and I can apply a style gradient. These are the same style, different styles. There's lots of different options. And as I click on the different options, it's going to change my background. And there's all kinds of cool things. I can do textures. I can do frames. Let's see which. If I come down to here. Okay, now that's a really cool frame, but it doesn't look right. And that's because it's scaled for something much larger. So I'm going to come back over to my layer panel, and if you look over to the very R, there's this little FX. I'm going to right click on it, drop down to scale effects, and when that pops up, I'm going to drag that down until I'm happy with the look. Now you see, look at what happens when I bring that down now. I've got a nice edge. I can go fat or I can go as skinny as I want and just make it a little edge. And I'm going to go a little bit fatter because I know that there's always that bleed that gets, you know, wonky a little bit. So I'm going to go right about there. I kind of like the look of that, actually. So I'm going to say okay. Now I'm not a big fan of this brown in the middle. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this layer and I'm going to rasterize layer style. Now that applies all of those layer effects to this layer and makes it one layer. So next I'm going to come over here to my magic eraser. Magic eraser. And I'm going to click on this brown in the middle and it, oh, yeah, no, it's still there. My edge is still there. Now you see, sometimes you get a result you didn't expect. So I may undo that, I may not. We're going to go and add another layer, which is there's a little button down here. You can see where my mouse is over here, right down here. Click on another layer. I'm going to drag it underneath that layer. And I'm going to paint that layer with my paint bucket. And now at least you can see that there is still that edging. It'll show up more if we give the background some more color. So if I go back over to styles and let's say I go with a nice light blue, but I'm not liking it. I liked it the better the way it was before. So there's another option. So I'm going to Control Z and undo until I'm back to here. And I've got my more, but I'm still not a fan of this brown in the middle. So the next thing is we're going to come over here to the Shape tool, and I'm going to select Rectangle. And I am going to draw a rectangle, and it doesn't have to be perfect because you can change the size of it after. Up here, under Fill, I'm going to make it just a solid black. Under Stroke, I'm going to choose None. And I've got a nice little black layer there, which I can now manipulate. So if I go back to Layer and rasterize that layer, now I have a shape on top of, see, I can bring it all the way on top. If I bring it underneath, it hides it completely. But by putting it on top, I've got my edge still, and I'm going to Control T. And now I can tweak it and bring it. If you don't hold anything down, it's going to stay within the locked bounds of the original shape. If you hit Shift when you're dragging it, you can drag it up, down, and distort the shape. So when you're working with photographs, especially, it's important to not distort your shape. You guys probably couldn't even see what I was just doing, so I can't tell where the camera's at. Okay, so right now, come on, catch up here. If I grab this edge and I don't hold any buttons down, it's going width and height the same. If I hold down the Shift key, I can now drag it longer or up or any direction that I want. And my goal right now is to fill it inside of the shape edge without going over the edge. And then I'm going to click the little check mark and make sure that it's behind my photographs. Now that I've got it in black, it doesn't have to stay in black. Now I can experiment with, I can add some glitter to it. I can make it a rainbow. Lots of different style effects. Or I can go with something simple like this, which I really like that, but not necessarily to match that frame. Let's see. Something a little more neutral. That's nice. I kind of like that. And what's going on up there? So I want to see if I've got, if that blue edge is from the border or, yeah, no, it's the gradient. Okay, so we're good. And now maybe I want to change, now that I've got the background laid out, maybe I want to change the font to match the background. So maybe the blue isn't the best choice anymore. I can try a nice green, maybe something a little darker. Let's see. There's all kinds of cool things you can do with styles. And there, I like that one. Start the darker blues again. And now I'm going to go one step further. So I'm liking it, except that now I'm not sure that I'm liking the color of the outer edge. So I'm going to go to that layer. And I'm going to come up to Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. And then this little pop-up. This little pop-up here, if I drag it, if I zoom in here, hold on, let me zoom in so you can see. I'm working on the coloring of this edge. So Image, Adjust. Okay, Adjust Hue, Saturation. And then I'm going to drag the slider. And you can see it's green now. Pink. And I'm thinking something more in the blue family. right in there. I'm trying to bring out the blue in her romper, and then by adjusting the saturation, it gets darker or lighter. I can take it all the way to black by removing my darkness, lightness all the way. So you can play with these sliders until you get something that you're really liking. And I'm liking it right about there. And there. Now, we could be done. Again, that is a perfectly nice frame. However, we can still go a step further because now I'm not liking that orange background. So I'm going to change that again. Oops, wrong layer. Go back to the correct layer, and you can always Control Z to undo. But I'm going to my little rectangle now. And I like that better. And then I'm going to go back to my layers, and I'm going to choose the photograph. So right now I'm going to look at this layer, this photograph. And I'm going to go back to my styles, and I'm going to add a border. Well, that's obviously too thick, which I go back to my layer, right click, scale effects, and I can make it smaller. Or go to a different style. We can go with a white. A nice white glow is always nice to make letters show up on a dark background. But let's say we want this one. And see how it's got the thin lines inside. I like the look of it, but not in black necessarily. So I'm going to go back to my layers, and I'm going to right click on this layer, and I'm going to go to blending options. And I can tweak all of my options from here. So right now, if you see, if I take off the stroke, it gets that outer layer. The inner glow is what's creating those two lines on the inside. But if I want to click on the stroke and click on the black, I can make it red if I want. Or I can make it a light blue, or maybe a navy blue out of a romper. Maybe just a little bit lighter of a blue. Like, that's nice. So let's say we're going to go there. It's a little thick. I'm going to go to size, reduce it just a little bit, and I want to add a bevel. I want to make it. So I'm going to go to this down at the bottom here. I'm going to click bevel and emboss, and there's lots of options you can play around with in here. Let's say outer bevel, inner bevel, and depth, size, just to make it buttonize it just a little bit. And okay, and then my inner glow. Why is my inner glow still black? That's a really good question. Dun, 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 dun. All right. I don't know why. Because the stroke is showing, the inner glow is showing as white. Oh, I know why. Because it's showing as this gradient right here is what's showing for the inner glow. And if I click on the gradient, there's a thin black stripe right here. That's what's creating that line. So I want to click on that and change that black to this blue with my eyedropper. And there we have it. And if I click new style, that saves that style so I can use it on the other picture and it'll be identical. So I'm going to go back to the other picture and go to my style layer, scroll all the way to the bottom, and click on it, and then that picture is automatically has that same border. And now they've got a little more interest, and we can call it done, or you can continue to go and tweak from there. Just to give one other idea real quick before I wrap this up. If I come over into here and I go to my green screen my backgrounds, and I'm going to go to beaches because it's super popular, and I'm going to find one of my nice beachy backgrounds. That one looks nice. Some boats in it, a little bit of palm trees, and I'm going to select all, edit copy, go back to my template, go to my layers, click on my bottom layer so I'm near that, and Control V paste, Control T to size it, drag it into the correct size, and click my check mark, and I can drag it up and see just how much I want to get. Now if I drag that layer down underneath if I create a clipping mask from that layer, right click and create a clipping mask, it's going to pin that layer to the rectangle that I created a little while ago. Now it's not showing up, but that's because I have effects on the light blue is an effect. If I disable my effect, it's overriding it. Let me see, release clipping mask. Hold on, undo that. I'm going to go to my rectangle and I'm going to disable the effects. Told you guys I'm not an expert here. I figure a lot of this out as I go. Then I'm going to go back to the picture and create a clipping mask. There we go. And it clipped it down to the same size as the rectangle that I had previously put in there. And now we have a whole new option, except that the Father's Day isn't showing up very well. So the nice step to that is if I go over here and I rasterize the layer style, that applies the style that's already on there, and now I can add another style, which is going to be just that little bit of white glow we talked about that really makes it stand out. So nothing versus a little bit of white glow, nothing, white glow. It makes it pop off the background a little bit. And that is a pretty nice looking frame, a pretty nice looking coffee mug. Now, if I want to give this mug to you guys, this template to you guys to use, I have to take my granddaughter out of it. So at that point, what I'm going to do is create a rectangle the shape of the picture size that I want to leave a hole for. And it makes no difference what color or shape or anything it is. You're creating a rectangle. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to rasterize that rectangle so that, hold on, I do want it to be a solid color. I don't know why it's not even showing up. Okay, top layer. There we go. And now I am going to go back and choose a solid color so that I can select it. Okay, and then rasterize the layer. And then go to your magic wand up here and select that box. And then come down to your bottom layers and hit delete. And do it on both of your bottom layers and hit delete. And when I hide that rectangle and I hide my granddaughter's picture, you're going to see a transparent hole. And then what I'm going to do, because I like it to be symmetrical, I'm going to deselect. I'm going to grab that rectangle and slide it over here so it's the same size where I want it. Magic wand it. Go to this layer and delete, and this layer and delete, and hide it, and hide my granddaughter, and there you have it. And in this case, I'm also going to hide the text so that you can put whatever text you want on it. So I can take my granddaughter's picture and drag it underneath these layers now, all the way to the bottom. Control T, she's underneath. I can zoom all the way in on her and have her just fit in the hole. it's as simple as that. And I can add any text I want. And you can also, at this point, let's say I got that where I want it. Magic wand, I'm going back to the layer with the hole in it. And I'm going to select on it. And then I'm going to selection, inverse, go to the picture of my granddaughter and hit delete. And it got rid of all the excess. So now her picture is only the size that I want it to be. And I drag her back on top of the background. And I can add the style back that I wanted, or change the style to something completely different. Tweak it out. So there you have it. And that about sums that up. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to clarify. And I will tweak this file up a little bit and put it up as your Friday freebie. Thank you. Bye.